What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. I started watching a show with the family the other day called Stargirl. It is on the DCU app and is a part of their streaming service. I don't know if it's anywhere else. I think it might be, on TV also or something like that. But this is one of their new initiatives. They are releasing a new episode weekly, so you can't really just binge it. You're going to have to tune in and watch week after week, which is, I think, intentional for a lot of these streaming services these days who are doing this, so that you don't just go get their free trial and binge the one show you want to watch and then tune out. You have to hang out for a few weeks and actually pay attention to the rest of their app and all that. Shows, I guess streaming services like Netflix really won't do that quite as much because there's so much content on Netflix. People aren't just tuning in for one show, but that might be the case here, especially with the DC app not having all that much on it in terms of video content. Now, Stargirl is the brainchild of Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns is a DC writer for a long time. He's hailed for his run on Green Lantern, JSA, among other books. And this actually starts out with the JSA being mentioned and referenced. So if you are a big fan of DC stuff and Jeff Johns stuff, you will enjoy this. He also had a comic book series of this called Stars and Stripe, which Stripe STRIPE, like an acronym, which gets referenced in here towards the end of it. And that was apparently the first appearance of Stargirl and all that. I have not read that yet. Maybe I will read that before I review the next episode or maybe the third episode, so I can get a sort of comparison on how this goes compared to the comic. But it does exist, and that is also on the DC app. Stargirl follows a girl named Courtney. She doesn't get the powers right away, but she moves to a small town country farm area in Nebraska with her mother and a stepfather who then has a boy. And so you end up having this kind of hodgepodge family that's getting together. And there's a mystery surrounding who her father was. She believes he was the Starman of the JSA fame. It actually opens up with a scene from the JSA. So it starts right in action, which is where Jeff Johns really excels. And then it builds these characters, which is also where Jeff Johns really excels. And he actually wrote the episode himself, too. So the comic writer moved to this. And that's why I decided to give it a chance, because it doesn't have your standard Hollywood writers or your standard CW writers who are going to turn this into a weird soap opera drama. They actually have a real comic book writer doing this, which is a big plus for the series. They move. They're all alone. They enter this small farm town. Everybody's kind of nicer than where they were at, but it's kind of weird for everybody. They're trying to deal with their family dynamic, and they're also trying to deal with a rising threat, which is happening with the town. And the town's rising threat really comes because they start to see that Stargirl has developed her powers. And what happened is Starman had this staff, and the staff gave him the powers, and the staff seems to be semi-alive or something like that. And it actually reacted to her and is actually coming alive with her in the future after that. And she's going to be the next generation of person. Whoops. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have that happening when I'm recording videos. Next generation of a person having these powers when it's going forward. Now, this all develops in the first episode. She ends up having to deal with a threat by the end and kind of, I would say, coming to terms with her powers. Her father or stepfather comes to terms with her powers also. She doesn't learn who the mystery of her real father is, and that persists into the next episode also. So they are building some nice, interesting plot lines with that, and they're building up this league of evil villains, pretty much, who used to fight Starman in the JSA and are now very concerned because she is coming back. I don't know how much I'm supposed to show of these things, so I'm not actually going to show any video clips. I'm just going to put some still frames on. Not sure what the rules are for YouTube and all that, but I want to be careful with that. And she ends up dealing with this villain who he has mental powers and he can control people and etc. And also can control telekinetic stuff. Kind of low level effects and fighting, but I kind of like that. I want more of a dialed back effects and fighting in these series. I feel like they go over the top too much in these, and it doesn't actually bode well for the shows. This one actually didn't throw me out all that much. And then her father, stepfather, that is, who is that? Luke Wilson. He's Owen Wilson's brother. Who one of the reasons I actually wanted to watch the show is because he's in it, and I actually like him a lot. He comes out and gives her an assist towards the end. So I appreciate that. What I really like about this on a lot of levels is that one, there is a family dynamic, even though it is a stepfather situation, and not just the original father. The original father, it's implied, might be the hero and disappeared and all that. He is a strong father figure who actually is useful, who isn't a buffoon. He's smart. He's dynamic. He's caring. He actually really cares for his family. The mother actually talks about how much he cares for the family so much in this. And she really gets happy that he builds a relationship with the daughter. And I like that also. I wish we would have more positive family dynamics in TV shows. A lot of people are criticizing the fact that, she's a pretty blonde girl and shows up at a high school and kind of ends up as an outcast and gets bullied, which would never happen with a pretty blonde girl in real life. Probably true. But at the same time, it is a TV show based on a comic book. Peter Parker acting like Peter Parker doesn't exist in real life either in Spider-Man. So that doesn't make any sense as a criticism. This is kind of a kid's show. Now, the one thing that I will say in terms of it being a kid's show, they end up having some swearing in it that is a little over the line in this, and actually really easily could have been edited out and didn't need to be in there. I feel like they just put that in to make it a little edgier so they could get that TV-14 rating on purpose. There is a good amount of violence in here, so I wouldn't share it with young kids. But if somebody's like 10, 11, 12, and they've seen the Marvel movies, they've probably seen this level of violence before. It could be a little scarier with some of these monsters and things like that going on for 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, and you don't want them repeating the swear words that are going on. Now, in the second episode, they dialed that back a bit, and I feel like this always happens in pilots, that they up the swearing, or in the other shows in this app, they actually have TVMA ones where they have some sexual situations which are over the line and don't need to be in there whatsoever, and then those get dialed back after the pilot also. I don't know why they do it for pilots. I guess movie executives really just want to see degeneracy or something like that, and that's what they use to get greenlit for TV shows. But once they actually get into the show, they really seem to dial it back for the actual audiences, which I appreciate. So there is that, and I do have a minor content warning because of that. This does not have those TVMA sexual situations, by the way, which thank God, because with high school characters, I really don't want to see that. So overall, it is almost a family program. If they really took back a little bit of the violence and took back some of the swearing, they really would have a solid family program. And it's getting very close to that. Like I said, in the second episode, it's much better about that, which I'll review later. But I look forward to this. The writing is solid. The acting's very solid. The effects are fine. I appreciate that they're not trying to push the envelope too much in that direction. And this is just a wholesome show. Now, it does have your strong female lead syndrome a little bit, where the girl ends up being a little, more acrobatic and a little better at fighting than potentially she should be without any experience with such things. But it's kind of mitigated by the fact that they have that magical staff that she has that's kind of directing her and everything around her. So I don't mind that. This is obviously a show with a girl in as the main character. So obviously that's what's going to be the case with the character. But what I do appreciate is that they don't go over the line. And like usually what happens in a movie like Captain Marvel or whatever, they would have the man in there be completely inept to show how awesome the girl is. And again, the dad is not inept in this. He actually shows up and dons the mech armor and helps out his daughter. And he's kind of being like that Oracle is, to Batman, or, Obi-Wan is to Luke Skywalker, and actually helping train the daughter in this, which is a very, very refreshing take on the family dynamic. Now, Jeff Johns apparently created this character because his sister was in a plane crash and got killed. Very tragic situation, and he wanted to immortalize his sister as a superhero. So I understand that, and I think that's a pretty cool thing, and I'm glad that she actually got a TV show out of it to help in that situation. Very cool stuff. And, all the way around, this was great, honestly. So I give this a 9 out of 10. There's those small little complaints about, the use of language that didn't need to be there for the pilot episode is really the only thing stopping this from being a 10 out of 10 great in my book. And I recommend it. So let me know what you think about this. Have you watched it at all? Are you intending on watching it? I will be back soon, and we'll see if people are interested in reviews of content like this. And if they are, I will keep at it. See you guys.